Our journey with God can be summed up in one sentence: realizing just how great He is and completely submitting ourselves to Him. Now, this can manifest itself in many different ways in our lives. I want to talk about what happened in the garden. Now, we know that Jesus had to die because of what happened in the Garden of Eden. But something that was interesting that I never knew was why what happened in the garden led to Jesus having to die for us. Now, I learned about this from my friend called Jared. He's a youth pastor, and we were at this course called Alpha. For those of you guys that don't know what Alpha is, it's this online course that was made about just people who are trying to get to understand God. And I don't know if it's free online or whatever it is, but I know at my church they play the videos, we'll watch for like 30 minutes, and then we'll go into our little groups and then we'll ask questions like, what does it mean to have faith? Or who is Jesus to you? Or do you believe in the resurrection? Or whatever it is. It's a place where you can get to go and ask questions about God. But interestingly, at one of the weeks that we did it, this spans over 10 weeks, like 2 weeks ago, my friend just kind of explained about why what happened in the garden separated us from God. The reason why what happened in the garden separated us from God was because when Adam and Eve decided we're not going to listen to God, we're going to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, we basically decided we don't need you, God. We know more than you. We're going to be our own gods. And from that moment onward, God decided, okay, you want to be your own God, I'm going to judge you according to my standard. And us being humans, we will never reach that standard. There's absolutely no way. And ever since then, there's been a gap between us and God. And Jesus had to die to bridge that gap. Now, what that does for our relationship with God is that it means we can never say we got to heaven because of our own doing, or because we deserved it, because we earned it. It was simply because of God's grace that He sent His Son to come and die for us, to bridge that gap. Now, speaking about the concept of pride, where pride comes from is when you're proud of something, you basically decided, oh yeah, I have a reason to be proud of this because I earned it. I did something incredible. And just from this relationship that we have with God, what God is trying to teach us, it's very contrary to what He wants from us, which is just realize just how incredible He is. And going back to the story about the garden, we were speaking, I think it was about God's grace in that session. And as he was explaining this, my friend was explaining this, I was like looking at it from God's side, it was like, God told us, He gave us the perfect garden, the perfect place for humans to be, right? He was like, Adam, here you go, you have your garden, you have all the food you'll ever need, and it's like, oh, it's not good for man to be alone, so then you need Eve, and then you guys can be together. Like, we had everything we ever wanted, and God was like, but do not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And then we went and we did it, and God was like, okay, you want to be your own God, I'm going to judge you according to my standard. And He still sent His Son to come and die for us. And in my head, I was like, hey, bro, like, that's kind of like, you've given your kid everything. Like, you've got your child and you've given them everything they could ever want, and you told them, just don't do this thing, it's bad for you. And then they go and they do it. And it's like, I don't know, and you still go out there and you sacrifice so much for them just so they can be closer to you. For me, I was like, that is a big show of God's grace, because in my head, I'm thinking, we were stupid. We chose not to listen to Him. We deserve to suffer, right? But God was like, no, I'm sending my Son to come and die for you. Now, our relationship with God is built on humility. This entire process that I've just explained about how God sent Jesus to die for us so we could bridge that gap, and we can never, ever, ever say we got to heaven because of our own doing, but simply because of His grace. That entire process is based on humility. The entire process of getting closer to God is simply us, as I said in the opening sentence, completely submitting ourselves to Him, just realizing just how great He is, how incredible He is, right? Making ourselves smaller, and that's something, I don't know, I was listening to a sermon and I think they mentioned that Bible verse or whatever it was, and they said that that's a little bit like it's a misconception in relation to that verse, but I'm not going to get into that. I didn't really understand it. But basically, we're making ourselves smaller because we're nothing. We are nothing. Like, all you need to do is just look up to the sky. Go watch those videos about space. Realize how small we are in relation to the Earth, and then realize how small the Earth is in relation to the galaxy, and then how small our galaxy is to. Bro, we're really tiny, and God created all of this, right? So, if you want an image, there's the image right there of just how tiny we are. We're literally nothing, and that's why our entire relationship with God is based on humility. Now, the reason pride becomes before the fall is, I think you can actually draw parallels to what happened in the garden, right? It's like, we think we know better than you, so we're gonna go eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and now look what's happened, right? The fall happened, right? And when you start to get proud about things in your life, and it's a very difficult mindset shift to make, right? And it's something I'm learning, and it's a difficult lesson, right? The world we live in, we're taught to be very self-centered, go achieve great things for yourself. You look at like what feminism teaches women, you look at what like the red pill teaches men, like all of this, everything is just centered around, go make yourself the greatest. And, like, it's all about pride. Like, look at me. Social media is all about look at me, and it's really difficult for us to change from that mindset shift to be like, oh no, we're nothing without you, God. We have nothing to be proud of. You have nothing to be proud of. I have nothing to be proud of. And I've spoken about this in previous videos. Everything we have literally comes from God. Everything. All the things you're proud of. I want you to think about every little thing you're proud of, right? Whether it's, how like good you look, or the outfit you've got on and how nice it looks, or how much work you've done on self-improvement, and like you've improved your jawline, and you like mug people, whatever it is, right? That's not you. You haven't done anything to earn that. Even your degree, like, okay, I've worked really hard to study and pass all these exams and stuff, but it's God who's given you the ability to do that. It's Him who's given you the brain to be able to do that, right? We take for granted something as simple as I study and then I pass the test, right? What if like questions come up that are so high level you were never going to understand those? Or, the sections you didn't really study very well come out for the most marks, or whatever it is, or you just go blank. Something as simple as that. We literally have nothing to be proud of. And the reason pride comes before the fall is that we are basically pushing aside the fundamental concept that the relationship we have with God is built on, right? Which is, God, I'm nothing without you. I completely submit myself to you. You're saying, no, I've earned this. Look at me, I'm great. So I should be proud. I should be proud of myself. And no, we don't have anything to be proud of, because it's not. We didn't make it. But yeah, that's my video, guys. You guys let me know what you think of the topic in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe to join the Self-Improvement Brotherhood. And until next time, I'll see you boys.